Okay. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classic Less Known Classics. This is episode number 28, 19, and Doubleshot number 2713. Well, we got two X-Men related books here. First we have Excalibur, Epic Collection, Volume 8, The Battle for Britain. Yep, now, we are officially back to the Epic Collections for Excalibur, and this is one of two left remaining for Excalibur. There is one more after this, and afterwards is basically on to Excalibur Volume 3, New Excalibur, and that's it for Excalibur. Yep, this book collects issues 104 to 115 of the title, along with Negative Number 1, Colossus Number 1, which is a one-shot, New Mutants Truth or Dare miniseries, and Kitty Pryde Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. 1 to 3. These books are Keith Giffen, Ben Rabb, Larry Hama, John Ursay, and James Felder. Artwork here is done by Brian Hitch, Rob Haynes, Salvador Roca, Rob Schultz, Pete Woods, Bernard Chang, Gizarino, Mel Raby, Scott Kubelich, Randy Green, Casey Jones, Aaron Lepsey. Sadly put, I've never met any of the writers. Of course, Keith Giffen, recipes, man. Artists. I have met two of the artists working these issues. I have met Aaron Lepsey and I've met Casey Jones. This book covers a time period of, get this, December of 1996 and concludes with, well, if I can find the issue here, December 1997. Let's first talk about Kitty Pryde Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's just basically her interning at S.H.I.E.L.D. for 3 issues. And at one point she wanted to go take care of something, but she couldn't because she would be accused of desertion. Yep, that was simply the reason for it. The Truth or Dare miniseries for New Mutants, that was him putting New Mutants Charm in the future for a few issues. Now, basically the Ben Rabb issues. Now, first thing they decided to do with these issues is resolve a question mark related to Doug Locke. Now, Kitty Pryde takes him to his grave. Of course, Colossus here is really good artwork here. Yeah, it's called basically because, of course, they question who the heck Doug. They think he's Doug Ramsey, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, he's been on the book now for over 20 issues, and now you question if he's Doug Ramsey. And so they go visit his grave, and of course there's mutant liberation going on here. They do in fact visit his grave in the very next issue, so they go visit the grave of Doug Ramsey, where Kitty is here with Rain, and you have Kitty Pryde using her shadow powers to go into the grave and finding the body of the late Doug Ramsey, who died back in the Mutants number 86. Oh, good. I'll watch it later. Yeah, so, and of course, that's the first issue ends. And of course, yeah, Doug Locke, he's just Doug Locke. He is not Doug Ramsey. They think he's Doug, but no, he's not Doug Ramsey. I'm thinking, did John Ursay not get the memo about this? So why the heck would they question who the heck his identity is 20 issues into his debut? It makes no freaking sense at all. There's stuff with Colossus. John Ursay had a pretty interesting run. Aside from that, it's a really fun story because the whole thing with sausage. Doug Locke doesn't like sausage. And there's stuff here with Colossus. It feels like a very fun run. Like, just basically characters just having some fun. Though, of course, basically that they would attempt this romance between Colossus and Megan. From what I read, this was not a very popular relationship. Apparently because people wanted her to be with Captain Britain, not Colossus. Here's stuff with the Acolytes here. And once at 107 is noteworthy for Salvador Roca joined the artwork for this book, and unlike his work for Star Wars, it actually is really good here. There's some spy work here, and in case you're curious though, John Ashley would not be the artist of this book for very long. Oh no, his writing run would be very, very short. And of course, the beginning of the storyline called The Battle for Britain, which starts with issue 108, and would go on for basically a lot was published in this trade here. Oh, and by the way, the Colossus one-shot, it's basically just a love story between Colossus and Megan, Captain Britain's girlfriend. Yep, because apparently that's what Ben Rabb wanted to do. He wanted to hook these two up, despite the fact readers didn't want this at all. Yeah. And of course, Spyro gets involved too in here. But I did hear, I think, just prior after John Ashley leaves the book, when Ben Rabb comes aboard, it's like basically gnawing at the kind of book. The book basically started slipping sales. This first issue being issue 110. This, of course, book would, yeah, John Ashley's one was actually not bad. It was very short, but I thought it was pretty interesting for what it was. Ben Rabb's one was just bizarre to say the least. It's like we have a little more stuff happening here. The -1 is basically a Stan Lee being the ringmaster for an issue. Yeah, it's Stan Lee cosplaying as the ringmaster. And continue on to 111. We'll continue for we basically conclude the whole Battle for Britain story arc, which of course, well, Ben Rabb took over basically during the story arc. For reasons unexplained. Yeah, and the only reason why they had to have, let's have Colossus date Megan because Kitty's dating Pete Wisdom. Yep, because somebody who wrote the book at the time probably thought that was a good idea. Yes. And we continue even further in this. We continue the romance between the two of them. Like at one point you have, looks like Rain kissing Douglock. It doesn't really go anywhere. There's other stuff happening here. The High Evolutionary makes an appearance here for reasons. Then we have the Colossus #1, which, yeah, like I said, is just a one-shot. The Colossus has never had a series per se. Not really, no. Mostly put have feature Mark Hong Presents, but he never had an actual series. You're thinking, that's weird. Oh, and also during the Kitty Pryde Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. series, they had a hologram Ogre pop up in the series, which you're thinking, that's weird. Like, who the heck is Ogre? Ogre is a character first appeared in the Wolverine Shadowcat miniseries, which is the miniseries that Kitty Pryde's Identity Shadowcat first showed up. That was the first of 3 miniseries she had but the first 2 team-ups. Third one's basically the one for her. The stuff with Pete Wisdom in here. And as for a solo book, Kitty Pryde Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. would be Kitty Pryde's only standalone book by herself. Books in here are not bad per se. It's just that, well, it's not as good as it should be when it comes to Excalibur. But I'm going to give a rating of 8.5 out of 10. Next up, we are moving on to Alpha Flight. Issues number 107 to 120. Some of you might be thinking, why won't I do, the final 10 issues? I don't think it's necessary. I could probably save for another round and basically save it when we can't start with Flight. Have basic one round. Basically, Alpha Flight 107. By the way, it just basically is continuing Scott Lobdell's run, leading into Simon Furman's run. Some of you are thinking, who the heck is Simon Furman? Simon Furman is most famously known for writing Transformers. You're thinking, really? You mean the original Marvel book? Yeah, he was the final writer of the book, which they decided to bring the writer back for Generation 1. Yes, and in case you're curious though, with these issues, basically 107, 108, that is basically still, it's basically the end of Dowell's run of the book. And then with 110, they take over. If you're curious, 111, that is basically 109. The World Tour thing is just a guest appearance by characters like issue 107, guest appearance by the X Factor. And this, of course, is the government incarnation of the team. It's them going to various countries. Yep. And 107, 108, basically they go to England. Yep, they go to England. You might be thinking, do they counter Excalibur in this issue? Not really, no. By the way, the land for these issues is Amora, Guardian, who is Heather, North Star, Sasquatch, and Weapon Omega, which is Costa, basically a Canadian Spider-Man ripoff. Oh, Steve Larson does issue 109. But Civil War is basically for issue 109. They go to frickin' Russia. With issue number 110, it's Titan Infinity War, where they fight a new version of Alpha Flight. This one formed by Master of the World. And members are Bell, Brain Drain, Miss Mass, Tech Noir, Segrum, and Stegnu. These guys would be pretty much basically like they'll be here for issues 111 and 112, but they'll come back for the last couple issues of the book. They also have forms Alpha Flight, Box, Shaman, Wolverine. Yeah, and Gamma Flight becomes Beta Flight with this story arc here. And then with issue... it's basically switching from World Tour to Bare Bones. With issue, 110. Yes. And then you have, a topic of Weapon Omega. Still continuing the whole thing of the Infinity War stuff. And the whole thing with this Master Story arc basically is... wraps up with issue 112, and then move on back to, issue 113, where it's just Guardian and Weapon Omega for an issue, where they're basically the bosses. Or Verga Flight Team is basically reduced to being supporting characters. Oh, and by the way, it's actually, it's Heather. Yeah. And then we have Bloodlines, where the character Laura Dean becomes Pathway, after previously known as Goblin. This is the issue where she first becomes Pathway, as part of Gamma Flight. You're thinking Weapon Omega. Wasn't also the name of Wolverine from the Age of Apocalypse universe? Yes, but that was basically years later. And then basically 115 begins the Extreme Predator story arc, which lasts until 117. It is basically them versus this. Yeah, and this is, you might think, is this the start of Simon Furman's run? He took over to issue 110. And he actually would skip an issue. Issue number 113 is not done by him, it's done by Steph Larson. Yes. Yeah, and of course, also Garrison K appears here too. Really interesting Stark Extreme Prejudice. I'm sure it's not too, something over in Image. 118 is basically Wild Child become Wild Heart. Basically, it's them. The main thing is basically Alpha Flight versus the Wrecking Crew. And that's pretty much basically the issues we have here for the last three is them versus, actually two of the issues. Last issue is basically taking the guy called Robert Hogan. Yeah, also deal with the Judgment Militia. Pretty interesting stuff here. Pat Rogers gets some really good artwork of these issues. I'm going to give these issues here roughly a give roughly 9 out of 10. Okay, so that's a particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and tune in this like button. Next up, we have, well, another comic corner. And it's Batman related. Okay, next video. Bye.